The attention recession. The average American checks their phone 205 times a day. That is once every 6.5 minutes during the waking hours. And if you silence the notifications, you actually check it more, not less. And that is not a discipline problem I'm bringing up. That is what Penn State researchers found in a lab. You did not choose the habit. Nobody sits down and decides to check a phone 205 times a day. Something else built it into you. And what it took from you is the one capacity that made you human in the first place. The capacity to attend, to sit still and be with something long enough that you can actually learn it, to love it, and then even to pray about it. So I'm Jonathan Roberts. Welcome to my channel once again. And if you haven't yet, please subscribe. So episode 3 of Applied Christianity series. It's going to be the same structure. 4 layouts. What you can see, what reason alone tells us, what scripture adds, and then what the church specifically teaches. Today is a topic of attention. What your phone is doing to you and why the Christian tradition, natural law, scripture, the church is going to name a wound in a way that almost nobody else can. So let's get to it and stick to the end, and we're going to find it all out. So layer 1, let's just crack back just the simple numbers here. The average American adult spends between 4 and 5 hours a day on their phone. Add in television, computers, and it's a total of 6 or 7 hours a day of just screen time. For teenagers, recreational screen time averages 8.5 hours every single day. That is more than the average school day. Gloria Mark, a researcher at UC Irving, has been measuring focused attention windows for the past 20 years. In 2004, the average person could stay on one task for about 2.5 minutes. In 2012, it was 25 seconds. Today, 47 seconds. It was 75 seconds in 2012 and 47 seconds in today's world. That's less than a minute. This is what your brain on average can do before it reaches for the next thing. And the mental health data is not subtle. The CDC's own 2024 data brief found that teenagers with 4 or more hours of daily screen time report things like anxiety at 27% and depression symptoms at 26%. Teens with lower screen time use about half of that rate. So a 2025 randomized trial also removed internet access from their phones of adult volunteers for 2 weeks. Their mental health improved, their attention improved, and most of them at the end of the study said they have no intention of getting back to the way things used to be. So here is the detail I want you to hold on to. It's not just the time, it is the fragmentation. Every notification, every quick check, every phantom vibration. The 73% of adults report feeling phantom vibrations. It's a break in the thread of your attention. And the research says the cost of each interruption is not just the interruption itself. It is 23 minutes it takes on average to fully return to what you were doing. So you're not spending 5 hours on your phone. You are spending 5 hours on your phone and also destroying the other 11 waking hours. So let's break into what reason alone tells us. This is the second layer. Reason on its own, and there's no theology yet. There is a philosophical claim that every serious ethical tradition, tradition from Aristotle, the Stoics, Confucius, Kant, Iris, Murdoch, agrees on. They all agree on this, though they disagree about almost everything else. The claim is this: you become what you attend to. The self is not something you have. It is something you form. And you form it over time by what you choose to look at and what you choose to think about. Aristotle put it in one line: we are what we repeatedly do. Simon Will, a philosopher writing in the 1940s, wrote something even sharper. Attention, she said, is the rarest and purest form of generosity. Because when you actually attend to another person, actually see them, actually listen to them, actually notice what's on their face, you are giving them the one thing you can't fake, and that's your presence. And here is the consequence nobody wants to say out loud. You cannot love what you do not attend to. You cannot love a spouse you scroll past. You cannot love a child you photograph but never actually look at. You cannot love a friend who is speaking to you while your phone is on the table, face up, in your peripheral vision. You can't love a book. You can't finish a book. You can't love a God whose voice comes only in silence if you have made silence unbearable. The most dangerous thing about your phone is not the time that it wastes. It's that it trains you hour by hour, day by day to be unpresent. And an unpresent person cannot love. That is not a religious claim. That is a philosophical one. It was true before Christ. It will be true if the church disappears tomorrow. It is baked into what being a human being is. And it means the crisis you are feeling, the sense that you are less capable of sustained thought, less able to be still, less alive to the people in front of you than you were 10 years ago, it's not a personal failing. It is the predictable outcome of technology engineered against that very capacity that makes you human. So let's pull back to layer 3 now. This is what the Bible, this is just spirituality. There is a scene in the 10th chapter of Luke that most every Christian has heard and almost no one has understood correctly. Jesus is at the house of two sisters, Mary and Martha. Martha is busy. She is doing genuinely good work. She is serving her guest. She is doing what a first century woman is supposed to do. And she looks over and sees her sister, Mary, sitting at the floor of Jesus at his feet, just listening. Martha snaps. She goes to Jesus and says, in effect, tell her to help, is what she says. And Jesus says something that most preachers soften because it's a little uncomfortable. Martha, Martha, you are anxious and troubled about many things, but one thing is necessary. Mary has chosen the good portion, which will not be taken away from her. So read that again. One thing in a world of many things, many demands, many notifications, many good works. One thing is necessary, and it's not the doing, it is the attending. The whole spiritual life of Christian tradition turns on this scene. The active life is good. Martha is not condemned, but the completeness of life, it's sitting still at the feet of God, listening, that's the good portion. It is the thing everything else is for. And when God himself lived a human life, notice what he kept doing. Mark 1:35. Very early in the morning, while it was still dark, Jesus got up, left the house, and he went to solitary, where he prayed. Even Jesus needed to be alone, to be quiet, to attend. If the incarnate God needed silence, so do you. And then there's Psalms 46, verse 10, is a command in the Hebrew, and it reads, cease striving and know that I am God. The word translated as be still means literally stop moving, to stop grasping, to stop refreshing. If you're watching this and you have noticed that you cannot pray anymore, that you cannot sit still, that you cannot read scripture without your mind wandering, that the silence has become unbearable, I want you to hear this. That is not a spiritual failing. That is a training effect. Your attention has been shaped hour by hour for years by an industry whose entire business model is to be your inability to sit still. You have not lost God. You have been separated from him by the same mechanism that separates you from a book, from your spouse across the table, from your children. But here's the thing. It is not permanent, but it will not undo itself. So let's go down to the fourth layer. And this one's distinctively Catholic. And this is where the tradition has something almost nobody else has. Thomas Aquinas, in the Summa Theologies, wrote something that would be almost incomprehensible to the modern world. He argued that the contemplative life, the life of sustained attention to God, is superior to an active life. Not because doing good in the world is bad, but because contemplation is what everything else is ordered toward. The Latin is vita contemplativa, and Aquinas said it, participate in the life of God himself, because God is not primary a doer. God is. And knowing God is not primarily an act of will, it is an act of attention. This is why the church built what she built, the divine office. Monks and clergy stopping 7 times a day to pray the Psalms is a piece of engineering. It is the church saying that human beings need the day itself to be structured around attention to God, or attention will collapse. Lectio divina, the ancient practice of reading scripture slowly, chewed one line at a time, is an attention discipline. It is training you to do the exact thing your phone is training against. Eucharistic adoration, sitting in silence in the presence of the Blessed Sacrament. This is the most counterculture act available to a Catholic in the 21st century. Not because it is fashionable to withdraw, but because it is a direct assertion that the presence is real, that silence is not empty, and that God who made you can be attended to. The Mass itself is training in attention. Every gesture, every possible response, the whole liturgy is a 1,500-year-old attention discipline you receive by showing up. A Catholic writer named Joseph Pipierre wrote a book in 1948 called Leisure, The Basics of Culture. His argument was that culture itself, like real culture, the kind that makes cathedrals and symphonies and universities, is built on a specific kind of attention. Receptive, unhurried, and contemplative. I'm struggling with that one. A civilization that cannot attend cannot build anything worth keeping. Look at where we are in today's world. So the specifically Catholic claim is not just you should use your phone less. It is the tradition has been telling you for 2,000 years exactly what has been taken from you. And it has been building the tools to give it back to you. The doctrine did not change. The attention did. So, as I always like to hit, let's hit some limitations. So here's the first thing. Not all technology is bad. If you are watching this screen, this video was made on screens. The problem is not that the phones exist. The problem is what the specific design of the modern phone does to a particular human capacity. And some screen time is legitimate work. People with real jobs cannot go off the grid. Parents with young kids sometimes need the screen and are already carrying enough shame. Do not add to it. The awkward one. The church herself has not always been immune. Many parish life patterns have imported the same distraction. Packed calendar, program overload, ministries ran by text thread. If you have found that even Sunday feels rushed, it's kind of real. That is on us. It's not on you. And the answer is not primarily technology. It's not a new app. It is not another blocker you will disable in a week. It is presence, reclaimed slowly in small habits over years. You do not need to throw your phone in the river. You need to give one part of your day back to silence, and then add another, and then maybe another. So don't scroll to escape the shame of this episode might be creating for you. If you feel it, that is your soul saying something honest. Listen to it. Do not medicate it anymore. So if this landed with you, share it. Not with the person that you want to convict, with the person you love who cannot put their phone down. Our next episode is going to be about rest, the Sabbath, why the tradition made a whole day for it, and what happens to a soul that has not really rested in years. It's going to be the same structure and the same honesty, and I'll see you guys there.